Well, if you was waiting all night last night and gave up and went to bed before the beta servers came up and stayed up for about 15 minutes before they've gone down, and they're down all day, okay, they was up for a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but you get the picture. Then you might have seen a few things you got questions about, and I've got some things I've got answers for that are completely unrelated to the big one, which everybody is putting screenshots in on Discord. And that's the Celestial Heroics, or Celestial Dungeons, let's call them. So in the dungeon tool now, you've got random normals, random heroics, and then random celestials. Now, they don't tell you what the celestials are, obviously, because they're locked, as in you don't meet the criteria, so it's probably at the moment just a placeholder. Now, straight away, you're probably thinking, well, it's just going to be like Twilight Dungeons. Well, yes, but normally that sort of system doesn't come in until the second raid tier, because normally the Alpha, Beta, Gamma dungeons back in Wrath of the Lich King, or the Twilights and Infernos in Cataclysm, were used as a way to get catch-up gear from previous phases, or, as you know with the Twilight Dungeons, a way to get LFR gear. Now I'm going to talk more about that, some things that I've found out with pet battles as a way to get XP on alts that's testable and actually working now. I managed to get a few little pet battles in last night to confirm what I've been trying to confirm for weeks now. This is the first time I've been able to test it because pet battles across account wasn't working. In fact, once I'd learned pet battling on one character last week, I couldn't learn it on any of my alts. Well, they've fixed that, which is good news, which meant I could test a few cheesy ways of getting XP, as well as power leveling pets, which we'll get onto. I'm also just going to give you an update on what this week's beta means and what it brings and what content ultimately there is to go and do. But this would be a pretty short update and probably expect another one over the weekend once I can actually get some testing done. But as I say, the servers are down all day today, so I just want to try and answer the big questions. But before I do, if you haven't already pre-ordered your Rested XP guide, make sure you click on the link in the description or the pinned comment. It is an affiliate link, so any guides bought go towards supporting the channel, so thanks in advance for that. And if you order the Mr. Pandaria guide, you're also going to get the pre-patch quest stacking guide as well. So it will give you the best 25 quests to get stacked up, and then give you the optimal hand-in route, just so you can get a little bit of a head start. Firstly, let's just get what this week's update is out of the way first. I did have a little guess in last week's beta update video saying that the week's downtime we've got between the raid testing would most likely be challenge modes, and that's exactly what it is. So when the servers do eventually come up, we're going to have access to challenge modes, which I know some of them was actually done last night before the servers had to be taken down for lots of other issues. The little mini PvP season's starting as well, so if you've got access to the beta and you're really into PvP, there is going to be a small season where you can actually get titles as well. So the ranks and rewards at the end of this beta PvP season will go onto your character, but obviously they're only going to be available on the beta. It's not like you can take it onto live, but I thought that was a nice little touch at least. But this does mean the new battlegrounds are going to be testable, so that's Temple of Kotmogu and Silver Shard Mines. Now, Temple of Kotmogu, if you haven't seen it before, is where there's 4 orbs on each outside corner of the arena. You take increased damage and deal increased damage the longer you hold these orbs, and basically you want to get all 4 orbs into the middle and stand there and just blow everyone up, and the longer you hold the orbs, the more points you get, and obviously a multiplier for the more orbs that you've got as well. Silver Shard Mines is a really cool one as well, where in the center of the map, minecarts spawn and these carts slowly move towards their exit point inside the battleground. And the more players you've got around the minecart, the quicker that you can capture each one of them, and then you want to try and escort them back. There's no flag run-in or anything like that, no bases to capture, you're literally just capturing each minecart. Now, the reason I've actually gone into a tiny bit of detail when it comes to these battlegrounds is because you will actually need to do these as part of the legendary quest chain, so to get your cloak. Now, you shouldn't have to do these until Phase 2, but it's worth familiarising yourself with them now, just so you don't go in Phase 2 because you're a pure PvEer and you just want to do your legendary quest chain and not have a clue what's going on. It pains me to say, but dual specialization's working on the beta as well now. The reason it pains me to say is, come on, Blizz. I mean, you've even got dual specialization working in vanilla on the anniversary servers, and we've had to go 4 weeks without it on the beta. Ridiculous. But still, they've got it working now. There's also going to be a Brawl with the Blues on May the 27th, so if you've always wanted to have a good fight with the developers, then May the 27th is going to be your opportunity to do so. I will tell you though, when we done the Brawl with the Blues in the Cataclysm beta, we destroyed them so bad they started flying around and one-shotting us in the battleground because they couldn't keep up. So don't expect a fair fight because you're not going to get one. Okay, and then what I was talking about with pet battles, this is not a major one. It will take 30 seconds, so if you're not interested in pet battles, don't worry. I'm not going to be yapping on about it for too long. But up until this point, I've not been able to test the account-wide quests, and the account-wide quests are really important, especially for power leveling characters when you're level 90, and you can farm the triple XP potion from Dreadwaste. So there's a triple XP potion that you can get from Kroll the Blade. It's not 100% drop chance just because you find the rare, but if you do happen to get it, you can use, I was going to say abuse, but you can use clever use of mechanics to be able to level alts really fast with a triple XP potion and account-wide quests. So there's 5 in particular that I wanted to test, and I've tested 4 of them before I just got too tired and had to go to bed. But that's Old MacDonald, Eric Davidson, Lindsay, Bill Buckler, and Dagra the Fierce. Now, using Dagra the Fierce as an example, because this one I did actually record, you can complete the pet battle on one character, log out, log on to another character, so a character that can actually benefit from the experience, and then click to complete the quest. Now, there's only 5 of the pet battle tamers that actually do this, but it should give level appropriate experience. So, for example, on a level 1, it was giving 80 XP. Whereas if you was on something at level 70, it'd give you the equivalent XP of a Northrend quest. So when you've got triple XP and you pop the potion that only lasts an hour and you do these 5 on your main, you switch to your ult that's got the triple XP active and hand in 5 quests, it's the equivalent of handing in 15 quests. All in about 10 seconds, not even that, and then you log out and you save your XP potion. Now, another reason this is really good is just to be able to level ults even just at a steady rate without a triple XP potion, because the battle tamers actually give a higher pet experience multiplier. So because you can go and do these low level tamers and use a level 1 pet and then just hit the first target and then switch to a level 25 pet and one-shot them all, that level 1 pet that you use gets the full experience at a higher XP rate, and it gets a difficulty bonus because your pet is going to be lower level than the tamer's pets that you're actually fighting. So you can literally do like 1 pet battle tamer and get to level 4, then you can go and do another one and your pet will get to 8 and then 12. You'll average like 3 or 4 levels every pet tamer for the first 4 or 5. So it's really quick to power level pets using these, and then you can log on to a character that actually needs XP that's not level 90 yet, and hand in all 5 quests as well. Okay, moving on from pet battles. So, people have been seeing these random celestial dungeons. Now, I'm just going to put it out there straight away. I have absolutely no insider information. Everything I'm saying is just speculation and my opinion. And I want to put it out there just in case you think that I know something and you're like, oh, Scott said it, so this is going to work. Like, I don't know anything. Now, the reason there's a lot of speculation around what this actually is because of the fact that LFR is on the beta. Now, LFR is only half implemented on the beta, and that could just be because it was chucked in the code. You know, when they've actually gone on to Mr. Pandaria and they've used whatever snapshot of the game code that they had before, this is just in the game code. So if you type /raid finder, it brings it up and you can actually queue and go in and get loot and all of that, and it kind of works. The thing is, it's not in the user interface and you do have to use the command to physically bring it up to go and queue, which tells me that it's not really intentional. Will it be there? Absolutely. It very possibly could, and I really hope that it is. But in my opinion, these Celestial dungeons are going to be the same as Twilight dungeons. They're going to be a currency that you can farm to be able to get LFR gear. The one thing I kind of hope is not right, though, is I hope these don't open until a week or 2 after the raids open, because otherwise people are going to be going in full LFR gear like we did with Dragon Soul, and it completely changes the difficulty. Dragon Soul 0% heroic when everyone was running straight in with their 4 sets and the weapons from Madness and all of that, even though they're the LFR versions, really made a big difference and actually made Dragon Soul easier than it would have been if we didn't have access to all of that. So hopefully the first tier of content isn't affected too much by the fact that it looks like they're putting these in, but I personally, and this is where it's just an opinion, I think they're going to have both. I think we're going to have Celestial dungeons as a way to get LFR pieces of gear, so you don't have to do LFR, but then I think they'll have LFR in as well as a way to progress through the legendary quest chain. So if you want to get Sigils of Wisdom or Sigils of Power and you haven't raided this week on your main, as in normal or heroic, then you've got the option to go and do LFR to progress with the quest chain. Whereas if all you want is the LFR items, then you have the Celestial dungeons that you can spam. And it's a great way to catch up gear-wise, because the item levels scale up through the first 3 raids. And I don't mean the first 3 raids as in raid tiers, I mean the first 3 raids in the first raid tier. That was a mouthful. So the gear in MSV is not as good as the gear in Heart of Fear, and the gear in Heart of Fear isn't as good as the gear in Terrace if you're doing the hard mode in Terrace. It's actually considered elite, not hard mode, but you get what I mean. So with that being the case, if they do stagger the raid release and we get Mogersham Vaults on its own first, followed by Heart of Fear and then Terrace, actually adding the Celestial dungeons around halfway between. So let's say they was going to do MSV on its own for 4 weeks, 4 resets. After 2 resets, put the Celestial dungeons in. Then that gives people a way to actually get as stacked as possible before Heart of Fear launches, if they was a little bit late to the party and maybe missed the first couple of raids in MSV. Again, just my opinion. They absolutely could put the Celestial dungeons in at the same time as MSV opens, which would also be fine, but I just really hope the Celestial dungeons are not there at launch, so we can get full LFR gear before the raid opens. And to be fair, that's about it. It kind of sucks that I'm giving you a beta update and I've not even really been on the beta and done a great deal outside of checking the pet battle stuff that I wanted to look at, because the beta servers are down. They're still down at the time of recording, and they'll probably still be down at the time this video goes live. So as always, be sure to like and subscribe before you go anywhere. Consider joining the channel as a member to show extra support, and I'll see you on the next one.